guys, we're finally back. Lockdown is over and the golf courses are open.
Well, at least some courses are. The only issue is it's bloody freezing, winter's here, it's been snowing, ice everywhere, but hopefully we'll give you 8 tips that help you break 90.
Right guys, so tip number 1 is you always want to stay dry and warm in winter. It is freezing at the moment. Obviously we're in England, so there's going to be a downpour of rain, so one main thing, get some decent waterproofs. We've both come foul, I'm sure a lot of you have, of being out in a storm and getting drenched, and it just ruins around, especially if you're only halfway through. So invest in a decent pair of waterproofs, and then everything else, just keep yourself warm. Nice pair of gloves, snood, jackets, extra layers, just stay warm and you'll enjoy the game a lot more.
Right, so the second tip is all about ball choice. It's time to get your Leary balls out of the box, because yellow balls, red balls, coloured balls, anything other than white, you're going to be able to find in snow and ice or sleety conditions. Playing with white like we tried yesterday, it's just a no. We just couldn't find anything, could we?
No.
And I would try also and avoid like high spin balls. Yesterday we were hitting greens and some of them were stopping dead because it's so slushy, and some of them were just bouncing off because it's frozen. So there's little point. You want as much distance as you can in this kind of weather. So pick your top distance, low spinny kind of balls to get the best effect out of winter, I guess.
Right, so the next tip, tip 3, is playing the right shots in the winter into wind. We're all guilty of seeing the wind and just trying to smack the ball as hard as we can, get the driver out. Not the right thing to do. You need to play it under the wind, keep it nice and low, and stop the ball ballooning up. So what we're going to do is show you now, try to. Let's play some shots under the wind. What we would normally play on this next hole is a par 4, quite long. We'd normally try and just smack a driver as hard as we can. This time, a little bit of finesse. Luke's going to hit his driver, try and keep it nice and low. I'm going to probably go with a 5-iron, do the same thing, try and keep it low, and go from there.
Come on then, let's see a nice low 5-iron.
Nice low 5-iron.
Make it to the fairway.
A bit further back in the stance, shaft forward.
It's a little bit wet, so it'll not make it to the fairway if you don't reach there with your shot. I mean, it's below the wind and it's down there. It's not
perfectly down the middle and low.
Yeah.
Easy this game.
I've just teed it a little bit lower than usual as well.
Yeah, a little low tee, a bit further back in the stance, a bit more pressure on the front foot. That's a bit lower than you wanted, but we get the idea.
Topped it, it's gone about as far as this 5-iron has.
No, it's way past it.
Oh.
But the difference of what we would have if you play a high shot there and the wind gets hold of it, if the wind's into you, it's not going anywhere, it's ballooning up.
Well,
if the wind's left to right, you're in them trees over there.
Yeah, I was going to say, we usually end up in there into wind, don't we?
Yeah.
It's not ideal.
The wind's normally left to right across here, throws it into them trees. Keep it low, the worst you're going to do is just bubble it up a bit shorter than normal. We're brilliant.
Sick. So the next tip is playing the right approach shot into a frozen green. Now depending on the conditions of the actual fairways or rough or wherever you are, there's 2 ways I'd approach this. If everything's frozen, then I'd use a wedge and just leave it nice and short, because it'll bounce up and it'll roll on. Obviously if it's a bit wet around the green and where you are, I'd just play like a 7-iron bump and run from this distance. We're 90 yards away. It's quite a normal, easy shot in normal conditions. The winter just adds the extra thing you've got to be precautious about, because this is just a hard shot in winter.
Shot.
It's
Lovely.
actually a good shot, that.
Right guys, so the 5th tip is all about putting. Now, these winter greens are slow. They're normally sloshy, wet, underneath not great. And if they're frozen or a little bit too hard, then they're not going to roll through anyway. So what we've got to do in this case is think less about the break, get more about your distance, and just be a lot more confident about it. So just go straight at the hole or take a bit of the break out and just put a bit more power into it. You're going to be hitting them hard on here anyway because I'm going to be running really slow. So let's just try and do that. This one's normally quite a big break, I'd be aiming around the side. This I'm just going to go just side of the hole and just hit it a bit further. And like that, it just goes in.
I can't take it. That's the first take. Honestly, I can't take it. So tip number 6 is all about not stopping playing. And it sounds kind of an obvious statement, but with the 2 lockdowns the UK's just had, it's more important than ever. If you want to be good at golf and stay good at golf, practice whilst you're inside or in your back garden where you can. Like getting a chipping net, some foam balls or something, or putting inside, get a net in the back garden if you've got a big enough one. We're not blessed with that at the minute.
A big one.
Huh?
What?
But yeah, it's really important to keep practicing, because if you come out like I did after not playing for basically 9 months of this year, it's just shocking, especially in the conditions. But yeah, play indoors, practice as much as you can whilst you're inside, and if you can, obviously go out on your course, wrap up warm like Donny said earlier, and just enjoy your round. Don't score it, just practice your shots around the greens, and just practice whilst you're out, and just don't worry about it. Right, so the 7th tip is about clubbing up. In this particular situation, this hole's 170 yards. I'm very guilty, and as we all are, of wanting to hit, or thinking we all hit further than we do. In summer you might get there with something that actually hits 165, 170. In this weather, it's really cold, it's a bit breezy.
You can tell that from his nipples.
Thank you. I really hope you don't keep that in. Yeah, so this particular hole, I've got obstacles I need to get over. I'm going to hit a club that traditionally goes 180, well, between 175 180 for me, which is my 7-iron. Just trying to play to the conditions. It's going to be cold, it's going to go shorter, it might not fly as high. Hopefully it stops dead though, because the greens are really receptive and they're really wet.
It's a lovely strike. Tiny bit left side of the green, but distance. Back left, pins at the back. Lovely shot. Yeah. Shot, mate. Right, so the 8th tip is what we're all guilty of outside of winter as well, is picking the wrong club when we're close to the green. But this is especially important in winter because it's so much harder to get little finesse chippy shots where you're flicking it up in the air with a 60-degree wedge. Try and land it close. Now, the greens will be more responsive, but it's not about that. It's about getting it off of this ground where it's slushy and wet, and your club's going to go straight into it and you're just going to chunk it. So let me show you what I'd get from my 60, and I'm not the worst wedge player, to be fair, for our sort of calibre, but
12 handicap, by the way.
This is horrible, wet, wintry. So if we try and get this, it's just chunked and short. You can see down here, it's just all mud. Bounce has done literally nothing there. So I'm not going to try and use a wedge. What I would do is, in this case, is for my handy assistant, swap clubs. I'd use my 9-iron, little bump and run. So in this case, little 9-iron, just try and bump and run it, get it over the first little lump there, and let it roll down the green, a little low one. Right, so let's see how this goes.
Good shot.
It's not bad, rolled on a little bit, but it's better than it being back here and you're going down here. I've now got a nice easy uphill putt. Right, so that's it. That's our 8 tips for trying to break 90 in the winter. It is freezing. Make sure you guys get out there, enjoy your winter golf. Don't get too serious about it because it's not going to be your best scores ever. And wrap up warm. See you soon.